để có cho nó cho chữ là sai sửa hay tiền nô nó tụ áo tỏ với bò nó lúc họ cha bây giờ giò mù cho lúc bây tua kỳ lúc họ mua bây chuẩn giòn trong để sao có cho nó cho chữ là sửa kiến giàn chẳng cho bây cho mình tu mình nhọn bây cho mình nhọn chuồn nô nó u ngô này hay là nó sẽ u này sẽ được trâu này
nói lúc ở liền tôi nuôi tiệc bê chọn sẽ có xa chúng sẽ giải tỏa ý chỗ này chỉ tin cha thiệt trong bây giờ mọi chỗ xuân số tu thì là sẽ cho số môn giáo sư của hiểu cho vậy là nhớ từ lúc ở liền tôi nuôi tiệc chọn sẽ có trôi nhớ từ trong Coon Rapid ở Minnesota tôi muốn lưu cùng trong hoa hồ có một cái trang dành trong Choua Xiong vậy tụi bạn em mong muốn gì cho ở Xiong tôi cho tôi chẳng sự nhớ từ lúc trong Coon Rapid nó tôi cho lại tụi áo tỏ nữa nhớ từ lúc ở liền tôi nuôi tiệc chi chọn sẽ có xa vấn đề của cho nên một sẽ cho cái hoa hồ có một cái trang dành trong Choua Xiong của cho bé một sẽ cho cái sĩ thản cho và hòa vư giờ tụi thơ chuyên là lúc còn họ mong có gì sợ nhớ từ lúc sang Minnesota sĩ thản cho họ tiệt lúc còn trong này lúc họ phê là trả tiệt
thằng nó mà vì giờ lúc và Sunday thôi là mù bây giờ tụi này Paul muốn nó nhiều gì cho ở xong sơn dân gió nữa họ mù qua nữa theo họ lựa nhớ cho họ đến lúc mình nhiều chế mẹ cả thì lúc xét nó chỉ mà giờ lúc nhiều chế mẹ nhớ sang đổ rong họ nữa lúc giờ là giờ nữa họ chơi nữa nhớ sáu vạn nhiều thế gì chỉ nữa mình nhớ họ ta chỉ muốn dân gió giờ cho lấy của to mà tới rồi nữa cho nên bởi là cho nênว่าnhớ ít chương trình để nương tới hụt đồ tắm luôn hạt tiền mua tới giờ chơi mua nên là chỉ tắm luôn chỉ lấy tua cho chỉ lấy họ mua tới nữa lúc họ trong này một trong đá thì lấy mà lấy một hũ cho lấyว่าhắn ta so sửa hay chỉ nương chỉ té chỉ theo chó ở một tỏ nữa chỉถ้าตัวở một tỏ nữa nương chỉ bảo lấy trả nương mua luôn nhá ý cho nóอย่างlo nhớ họ chỉ nương mua làm lại cho ở cô cho nương chạy tụi theo ở lọ để cho hắn ta chỉ nương làm lại tụi theo là cô tỏ chỉ tao nữa theo chỉ mà cho con ta chỉ tắm luôn chỉ lấy làm mua nửa cha tờ để cho lấy nửa hai bên một sai nửa sao nửa mua ở trái tệ uy走lên nó cha sổ tao chỉ muốn nửa lúa làm chỉ bên bỏ nửa tây to thế chứ na chỉ con ta cho con ta làm mua nó chỉ bên bỏ thì trong cái trả lời chỉ hai đó chỉ con ta so xử mà tu chi phong nói nửa của thì lấy ô trợ lấy cho họ lựa sư chỉ lấy do chỉ thọ chỉ lần từ nữa chỉ cho lên ta tu mấy giờ trong cuộc lấy của chỉ hai chỉ thế là chỉ bên cung nhà xe bên bỏ thì lấy ô cho họ lựa thì thái bên sành但是我对呀，我自己呢，我哩呢，被他杀掉，家里他就老得起，แล้ว就老一ตัวหนึ่ง老นะแล้วที่ตัวหนึ่งจีตัวหนึ่ง有ยาหนึ่งเพย์ถ้าตัวจะได้หมดต่อตัวเนี่ยปอนะที่กวกคือรู้ชัวปะเนี่ยเลยที่จีจงเลยเขาเลยว่าตัวหุ่นได้ให้แต่จีต่อได้ต่อแล้วหมู่มั่วต่อที่ตัวปะเนี่ยเราแล้วที่เขาใจมาจองตู้จีปอกเกะแต่จีthầu cha tại sao nó thứ bỏ kẻ là thứ bỏ từ nhiều lần từ là giờ không mòไปเชื่อมาเรียนđó nè giờ lúc chỉ họ muốn này cha tự theo thứ bỏ đi nhiều lần lâu níว่าจะtaoเลยtrảแล้วจะให้cha tự theo là chỉ còn nào họ mòไปเชื่อthì giờ lên nó cú lão muốn nhiều lão giờ lên đó theo cú sát sinh thì chỉ giờ cho cú nhiều cho con nhiều là choไปtừ theo giờ lên đó màไปตัวmà chỉ làไปตัวtự trả ra chỉไปตัวmỗi ít lò lù thì cho tên nó tên chữ nhau họ lu không rapid họ nóก็เลยเขาป้อจะไปหมดกินยาเชื่อเลยจ้ะไปยังจิตเอาซาเทียจ่ายาแล้วทอดสือว่าเทียแต่เราเลยเขาจิปอกเขาไปปอกเทียเนี่ยโอเคเชื่อเลยตัวเกิดโอเคเชื่อเลยตัวคอจ่อใจก็ลำมือเห่าเชื่อเลยเขาอู้มาแต่เราเลยเขาจ่อใจอ่ะโจจะเดินกว่าซื้อแต่ชิ้นนี้น้องมัวไปจะดูเขามัวเหลือให้หนึ่งจ้องเลยแต่เราจ่อใจเลยจะว่าเชื่อเลยจะตัวสีเขาโอเคอย่าไปตัวน้อยเขาอีไปซาเราหลุดเลยเนาะหาเทียว่าไปเชื่อสั่งเลยจ้ะเขาอ้อbây giờ có là một cái bao, bên đó là bao khó thì có thể mua cho cái yêu品, mua cho cái nhau thay những nhà sinh tồn đây nè, nhà con này nu nó chủ sĩ ở đây nè.
问题係有呢個又係落嚟就到做夢就到報道嘅好看咯，因為要到只用於一路咧，就啲做到落出嚟要到18，到佢那個又係落嚟就到做夢就到啲好啲人咯，拖出嚟要到18到นู่นเลยอย่า當啲啊。
一種佢哋就夢就冇睇錯呢，估係做呢時候單錯，俾到nhau thấy chờ nó,俾估mua cái giờ kiến chế,俾估mua đầu trận đầu giả tại mình ở跑sĩ, có lọ chắp lời俾ý hay nè,俾nhon thò lùa. từ nhau về pe chọn này sang nương về chỉ hay tụ đu tụ đơ pe tàu đào lúa cổng tề đào lúa chỉ khâu lúa tê lúa chờ mà nó giờ pe cho hồ lử còn pe thêm nhau tàu lúa tê lúa chờ đào lúa kho tê kia lì kia chạy họ chẳng chấp lờ chỉ hay cháu lúa tụ chỉ bao pe chỉ hay nhau lại tê lầu chỉ bao lờ thì chỉ pe cháu lúa pe những bao cho chạy trong lại trả pe tàu muốn đào lúa cổng tề pe tàu ô chờ lúa cho chạy sau ấy tụ này lìa sau ấy tụ này pe sau là dỗ lúa cho chạy có bé nhỏ tàu cá xe lù có bé mua cái dự phèn chỉ tàu tay mình lên nên nó họ sai tên này tên gì họ chỉ nhau qua họ chỉ nhau mù họ tên này tên gì tên mình tụi nhiều là tí à có sai có cho bé sẽ được cho siết kia cho cái giờ có bé tí thái xua ya tay mình bỏ xí trong lên nó có sao cho bé từ nữa còn nóอยากเขาqua đó bé sẽ được
Susan Pa vậy tụi bọn em mong tàu sai cha là sẽ chỉ là mấy bé xây nhất rồi luôn trong Brooklyn Park nhất rồi luôn xem Minnesota tụi cùng lúc cũng chân là tí dạng gò chuẩn gì nào cũng cho nên sẽ cho cái shit thành cho nửa tia nên này họ sai đi cha
Siri Susan Pa cũng trong xe tuần chỉ còn hôm nào thì trở lại khó sự sinh hôm nào phải tôm luôn nó nàyแล้วกูเจอก็กูตัวหายเป็นจีหลูที่ก็สายเลยจ้าที่เขาอยู่หายอีหล่อเลยจ้าเราไปจมมุ่งยังเสด็จหายตัวที่เคจงนี่เนาะ
กูชงเชียแต่นู้นเนาะไปมองตัวเสาวเกตัวเต๋อจ่าดอกหอยจริงจังจังตัวไปมองไปปอชัวหนูมาต่อเดอตันลัวตัวเอาอย่าเลยเนาะแล้วตัวจริงจังจังตัวอยู่แล้วตัวจีหลังแล้วเขาเฉา用些海的被蒙个特教个用教里跟狗医生跟地生了被这能，冇到但他比较 like the official 到比较啲能到八倍呢，到海啊比老路抽个路死里贴。คุณอาเป็นนอมูดลู police department แล้วอยู่จุดตัวอีแล้วตรงที่จะเกี่ยงอย่างโตป่อยาลินากูให้อีตัว city council งั้นเขาบอกแล้วพ่อกูตัวอะไรตัว support ใจนั่งชัวร์ที่นี่ใจนั่งตัวเทียเกี่ยงอย่างโตเลยแต่ชีเท่าเขานอมูไปจะงั้นแต่ว่าแต่ใจเราไปอยู่จุดตัวเต่าจ่าไปกับ police department ไปกับ city ชัวร์ลู city นอแล้วก็ใจเราให้เตียเราป้าก็ไปสั่งงั้นเขาเราลุยจอแต่ชีก็ใจเนาะป้าไปเตียแล้วก็ใจเนาะพอเห็นอีกใจอย่างตัวตีนั่งอย่างจริงอย่างไปอยู่จุดตัว question แล้วไปอยู่จุดตัวมาเต่าจ่าให้กูเลยตัว call เลยจะ policy แล้วเขานอเขาล่อแชบเลยนู่นนอกูตัวเกี่ยกูสาปอกเขานอ
ตัวคุณเนี่ยก็อยู่ให้เราอยากไปจงมองจะเนี่ยเราแต่ว่าต่อเจสุดสาปอกเขาเนาะฮะที่อยู่ในจ่าที่นี่จริงๆบริษัทที่เขาจะป้าต่อไปจนมองหมู่ได้บริษัทเราเรื่องนี้จะต่อตอนเนี่ย
กูจงเชื่อชับเลยจะเนี่ยแต่ว่าต่อเจเราจะตัวเนาะไปมองเห็นอีหายนั่งมองไปชิลูน่ะไปชิลูไปชิป้าน่ะเขาเนาะเขาล่อชับเลยที่นั่งใช้ไปอย่าวีไปจะเก๋ไปชิป้าชิเชอbây giờ dùng thơ cho li chọn để sẵn thế cầu gì sẵn nó là lợi hay ít cho bây mong cho chơi lợi sở chỉ là bây lợi sở chỉ là tự trả lợi sở chỉ là thiệt kỹ ngang dần rồi bây họ nói hiểu họ dùng tận đây là mù là của yếu thọ tên họ này cái này cái gì cái nhất là phát tài chính này là sau bây giờ mong thơ cho thế họ chỉ bây giờ elected official li cũ xứ thì chỉ là sau bây giờ mong thơ cho lợi hay ít cho nên chỉ chân hàng hồ bây hải nè mong nè
một trong thủ cho sự kiện này trên là mong cho đội lực ba per tàu tuông hồ có một kiện gia những trận chúa Xiong vậy tụi bọn em mong một gì cho ở Xiong tàu tôi chẳng xử nhớ trong đời luôn trong Coon rapid tàu cho lại tụi áo tỏ nữa nhớ trong lúc Orlin luôn tụi CHEE Xiong sẽ có xa chuẩn gì nào cũng cho nên một trái sơ kiện hồ có một kiện gia những trong kỳ nọ thế chỉ ta lên đó chắc tại đôi sẽ tập bớt cho thì kiện hồ nhớ trong nó giờ hai luồng kiện đầu xứ.
Good afternoon, community members, organizations. We are here today because we are concerned and we want changes. So every person of different skin color can be treated with equality. We want to address our concerns and show our support to Choua. We, as community leaders and members, are deeply concerned about the incidents which involved Coon Rapids law enforcement, K9, and Choua, an 80-year-old Hmong grandmother. The actions and outcomes of the officers on February 5th, 2017 is too serious. This should warrant a public apology of the incident. We, the Hmong community, call upon the city's police department and mayor's office to investigate the actions the police officers took and take appropriate authority to impose necessary discipline and institutionalize cultural competency within its department in response to the incidents where this Hmong grandmother was attacked by police dogs in her own backyard in the city of Coon Rapids. Choua, we are here with you. We understand your pain. The community understands your pain. You did not deserve to be dragged. to have dogs set up on you. You are a victim of the institutional bias and discriminations. The officers could have treated you with respect. The officers could have treated you humanely. You are someone's mother. You are someone's grandmother. If you were the officer's grandmother, would they have treated you differently? We want changes. We do not want the skin color of the grandmother to decide how she will be treated. We want to extend our hands to the city of Coon Rapids and the Coon Rapids Police Department to build a relationship and make changes so that this does not happen again to everyone's grandmother. Thank you.
Now, Xiong, Benjamin Gallagher.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Benjamin Gallagher. I'm an attorney at law, and I represent Choua. Those whom we, as a diverse community, have trusted with our safety and well-being continue to test our patience and exhibit a lack of understanding of our trust with assaultive, dehumanizing, and traumatizing behavior toward the most vulnerable of us. Choua Xiong is an 81-year-old widowed grandmother who has also lost her only son. She was brutally attacked by a police canine last Sunday while minding her own business. Thank you. Sure. While minding her own business at her own home. After being attacked and bitten by the dog, and after having been identified as an elderly Hmong woman, she was further traumatized, humiliated, and injured physically by being dragged across frozen ground to a squad car, sustaining injuries to her legs in the process. The Coon Rapids Police Department's immediate response to this situation, according to video we have seen in social media, was to position itself, to declare itself the victim of unfortunate circumstances, to declare its actions not worthy of any investigation or review, and, in the words of Chief Wise, to want the public to be able to put themselves in the positions of the officers. This response is evidence of a broader problem. It is disappointing, and it is troubling to my client, to her family, and to the residents of Coon Rapids and beyond. We are conducting a thorough investigation into this incident. We encourage the city and the police department to abandon its hubris and to do the same. Thank you. Watch out.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. I want to acknowledge all of our allies and friends and supporters today here. 18 Council, Hmong American for Justice, Asian American Organizing Project, Red Asians, NAACP, Black Lives Matters, the African American Leadership Council, and so many others here today to stand with the Hmong American community and to stand with the people of Coon Rapids today. Now, this should not happen to a old grandmother, regardless of race or neighborhood or where they are from. Now, the people of Coon Rapids deserve a better department that will show all its citizens with dignity and respect. To Choua and her family, this is so undeserving of what happened to you. Your generation was a generation that fought alongside the Americans during the Secret War. It was your generation that brought us here to this country so that we could be educated, so that we could become contributing American citizen. It is the Hmong Americans and people of color in all communities of this community that buy houses here, they do businesses here, they live and they thrive here, and they deserve a better department. I represent the Ward 1 of St. Paul City Council. I have constituents who have families, aunts and uncles, who lives here, who bought the home here, who goes to church here, and they are concerned. If this could happen to an 80-year-old grandmother, what worse scenario could happen to someone that is not 80-year-old? And this is something that we must come to terms with, and the way that we can restore this trust is that we must have an independent investigation from the BCA to ensure that there's transparency and accountability in the police department and the city of Coon Rapids. Now, this is not an isolated incident. All across our country, all across the state, how law enforcement treat people who are disabled, treat elderly people. Treat people with mental health issues. It's unacceptable. And we must stand with them. They are the most vulnerable people in our community. I stand with all the people in Coon Rapids and all the elders and the Hmong American leaders here today that we will seek justice and we will get justice. As an elected and even police officer, every day we pledge our allegiance to this country to seek justice and liberty for all. We should not be, police officers should not be the one creating injustice and taking away people's liberty. Thank you.
I want to start by saying I do stand in solidarity the Hmong and Asian community. It's injustice. First thing I thought when I seen was this woman was 82 years old. And I thought to myself, well, somebody's going to be held accountable for this. It's not going to happen again. And then I hear the police sergeant say, the officer followed exactly the protocol. Sir, you need to change the protocol. You need to change the protocol. Over and over and over again, I hear, and everywhere I go, I hear, they say, well, we want to build trust within the police community. We have to start by building accountability before we can build trust. We have to build accountability. There can't be no more tasing. It can't be no more sicking your dog on 82-year-old women. It can be no more macing. It can be no more beating. It can be no more killing of people. Innocent people. At the taxpayer's expense. It seems like to me every time we have this gathering, it's us asking for justice. And I said us, just us. That's what it is, just us. Asking for justice. Just the Hmong community, just the African American community, just the Puerto Rican, the Mexican community, the Somali community. Just us. I stand in solidarity when I say I want just us. For just us. We have to stop this cycle, man. Every time you have this problem, the first thing the police departments do is go into defense mode and try to defend the bullcrap that they keep doing. You sick your dog on the 82-year-old woman. There's nothing wrong with that. If you think there's nothing wrong with that, Sergeant, you have the wrong job. Your officer was a coward who did not want to do his job that day, so he sent his dog in there to do the job for him. Now just imagine for a minute if the shoe was on the other foot and that lady shot that dog. Now she's charged with killing the animal on her property when you violated her property. Lord, help us! Help us! Everybody out here in this crowd see there's a problem. Only people that don't see there's a problem is the people behind us in this police department. I have a problem coming here because the first name is Coon in this city. That's how they treat us, African American men, when we come to Coon Rapids. They treat us just like that name, Coons. This is one of the sundown towns that black men don't travel through. Ask them. We don't travel through Coon Rapids. We are scared for our lives from these terrorists in this building behind us. That's a shame. Ask yourself this. Ask yourself this question. If you accept this for an 82-year-old woman, if you won't accept this for an 82-year-old woman, stand with me. If you accept this for an 82-year-old woman, there's something sick in your mind. She was dragged. I mean, she didn't even get a I'm sorry from the police department. Y'all to be screaming I'm sorry and taking cards, flowers, balloons, candy, all kind of stuff to that woman in the hospital. There was a crime committed here by the hands of the police department. Help us, Lord, help us. Nobody see this? Nobody see this but us, this crowd here. I want justice! Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm here to demand justice for Choua Xiong. I'm also here to share stories to remind us and to connect the dots of police brutality in our communities. The Coon Rapids Police Chief Jeff Wagner had stated that his officers were following protocols and no further investigation will be pursued. They also set a tone that if people who are limited English speakers or who don't speak English, and people with disabilities who are hard of hearing or deaf, if they don't respond to the police English commands, they will use dehumanizing force without further investigation, even if you're a threat or not. This is wrong and this is not okay. The mainstream media and police chief have controlled the critical details of this incident to neutralize it. Details Choua Xiong shared on a couple of local Hmong news channels how the police used aggressive and dehumanizing force on her even after she had cried out. Choua Xiong is not the first person to be treated this way by the police. Let's remember PAOLEE, who was shot and killed by Minneapolis police in 2006. Let's remember Jamar Clark, who was shot and killed by Minneapolis police in 2015. Let's remember Map Kong, who was shot and killed by Burnsville police in 2016. Let's remember Philando Castile, who was shot and killed by St. Anthony police officer in 2016. Let's remember the Native Indigenous people who were fighting at Standing Rock for their land and water rights, who faced harm by the police. Lastly, I'd like to share a personal story that hopes to inspire you and spark conversation with your family and community to end police brutality and abuse. One of my elders in my family told me that of her distrust with the police when I was having a conversation with her about police brutality, Jamar Clark, and Black Lives Matter. She told me that this happened over 10 years ago. She was driving her husband to work on a snowy day. As she drove out of the parking lot, a cab drove by and hit her bumper. The police arrived on the scene. My elder thought that the police would come there to help her document the accident, but instead the police officer spoke English to the female white cab driver, thinking that my elder would not, understand English, but my elder did. The police officer had told the cab driver that he won't document the incident because it was not worth the trouble, that the cab driver would face jeopardizing her job for an old car, which that's something she wouldn't want. From that day on, my elder did not trust the police again. Police brutality and abuse is not new and has happened countless times to our Hmong, Asian, Black, and African, Native, Indigenous, and Latino communities. And those who, now in these political darker times, that face even greater danger and harm are our family members, peers, colleagues, and community members who are limited English speakers with disabilities, who are gay, lesbian, bi, trans, and queers, who are refugees, immigrants, and undocumented people. Let's continue to show up and speak up against police brutalities in our communities and demand justice for Choua Xiong. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I stand on behalf of the Minneapolis NAACP and those who believe in freedom, justice, and equality with Ms. Choua Xiong and the Hmong community. Police violence is an issue that many of us have been fighting for a long time, and it will not end until we stand up for justice, we stand up for what is right, and we demand accountability. We should have heard from the mayor of Coon Rapids and city council members after this incident happened, letting people know that they do not condone attacks of an 81-year-old woman in the city of Coon Rapids and the fact that it was completely unacceptable. We should have received an apology from the Coon Rapids Police Department, the chief in particular, not a half apology, justifying the terrible conduct of the officers in question and the dehumanizing treatment of Ms. Choua, we should have received a full apology. Beyond that, we echo the call for an independent investigation into this incident. We also called upon Governor Dayton to speak out about this incident. We have seen our governor speak out about different issues. We know that he spoke out after Philando Castile was killed, and we're expecting him to speak out on behalf of Ms. Choua. We're expecting our DFL legislators who come and knock on our doors, including the doors of the Hmong community and other communities of color, asking for our vote. But in times like these, when people in our community face dehumanizing treatment, they are nowhere to be found, and that is completely unacceptable. Their silence as lawmakers play a role in what's happening. There should be legislation that prevents these types of incidents from happening. Our state government should be willing to investigate these incidents instead of leaving it up to the discretion of local police departments that we know will rubber stamp misconduct on the part of police officers. It's completely unacceptable, and we are tired of it. We send our greetings and our prayers and our support to Ms. Choua and her family and the trauma that she has experienced at the hands of the Coon Rapids Police Department. And we ask the community, all communities of color, to stand in solidarity with the Hmong community. And we ask our white allies to recognize that this is a problem that affects you too. That 81-year-old grandmother could have been anybody's grandmother. So we ask that you not be silent and complicit and not continue to expect the system of justice to work, because it's not designed to work on behalf of those who are marginalized and oppressed. And your silence allows this type of oppression to continue. So I want to thank the Hmong community for standing up. The African American community is right there with you, and we support you all in whatever you need.
And I'll be brief because I think everything has been said. But as the president of the African American Leadership Council, representing both my organization, but the St. Paul branch of the NAACP and the St. Paul Black Ministerial Alliance, we stand here united with our brothers and sisters from the Hmong community. One thing that we've said for years in our community, we've had dogs put on us for the last 500 years. So the dog thing is nothing new to black people. So welcome to our world. But we must say to every police department, they have to value our humanity. They do not value us as people. They see us as animals. They treat us as an animal. But we must stand united together in any injustice. Because an 82-year-old grandmother, not somebody 24, 25, 40, 82 years old. They've done that to an 82-year-old white woman. So until we make them value us, and Sister Nakima said it, they want our votes, they want our tax dollars, but they don't want to represent us and treat us as humans. So, but they won't get respect till we demand it. We have to demand that respect from them. So for Ms. Xiong and her family, and all of our communities, we must say no to this injustice. Because nobody's grandmother, at 82 years old, should be dragged by a dog. We're talking about a dog on a human being. Her life will never be the same as a result of this hideous incident. So we stand united, as always, with our Hmong brothers and sisters from St. Paul and the Hmong community to the end. So thank you.
I represent Brooklyn Park as their newly elected city council, and we are the neighboring city. My heart goes out to Choua and her family, but I have to say that this incident is something that can very much likely happen in our city in Brooklyn Park. We're the second most diverse city. And I think that it's really important as elected officials, as the police department, and especially the chief of the police, to, on every city in the state of Minnesota and across the country, to really take this case and say, could this happen in our community? It is very likely that it can. And so instead of taking this case and saying, as a police department, we are in defensive mode. We're not going to take accountability for what we did. We're not going to change our policies. We're not going to evaluate our protocols. Instead, take this case and say, this was wrong. This was unjust. And we, as elected officials, as a police department, as leaders in our community, are going to use this case as a way for us to improve our policies, improve our protocols, so this does not happen to people that live in our community that we're supposed to protect. One of the things that disturb me the most is we have a large population of our community that are the most vulnerable people. People who don't speak English, people who are deaf, hard of hearing, people who have disabilities, people who have mental illness. And what are we doing to protect these people? When we go out in the community, we're supposed to serve and protect them. This is a question I would like every single police department across the country to think about and to evaluate within their department. I know that when I go back to Brooklyn Park, it's the number one thing I will have a discussion with in my police department in my city. Thank you.
Well, first, thank you, everybody, for coming here tonight. And I'm Cindy, and I'm a board member of Hmong Americans for Justice. As my thing fixer. Okay, so we demand that the mayor conduct an independent investigation on this case. We demand policy changes where officers have better training, cultural competency, because unleashing an attack on an 81-year-old woman should not be considered appropriate behavior or following protocol. We demand answers of why, after being identified as an elderly 82-year-old woman who did not fit the description, who was no longer a threat, and was then dragged by her hands like an animal for over 100 feet and shoved into the backseat of a police vehicle. What were you scared of at that point? And at the very same time, dehumanizing her, humiliating her, because her pants were falling off as they were shoving her into the backseat of their vehicle. As I stand here and I demand these answers, but as a community who has seen this too often, we know these answers. And they are a very obvious poor policy, police officers who don't have appropriate training, and it's racial bias. And I stand before you, all of you, as a concerned citizen, as a Hmong woman, and as an American. And we can do better than this. And time after time, the community has risen up in very obvious outreach and in tears. And I'm tired. And a very strong, beautiful black woman, a poet, she said, "I'm tired of filling in the blank of new victims every day." Thank you.
It's regrettable that we stand here having this conversation, and President Vu and I have been talking for the last few days, and I've also been talking with the police chief and extend that the ability to sit with President Vu and the clan, 18 clan members, and I'll help organize that sit down so that we can have healing to this community and healing to what happened on Sunday. It's a regrettable issue that we're dealing with, and President Vu, I extend my support and help for you and the clan members, and to the family. I'm very sorry that this happened, and let's sit down and foster that moment that we can move and beyond and start healing as a community and make sure that incidents like this don't happen again in the future. So I give that to you, President Vu, and the rest of the community, so thank you. What else you did was?
Thank you, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon. My English might not be so good, but I can speak Hmonglish. And I hope you understand. I am Hmong human rights activist from the Hmong community. I'm here today because the incident that happening to Choua Xiong, a grandmother. When I found out and I heard, she was an elderly woman. And for me, what's really going through my head? When the police receive a call, yes, I understand they're doing their job. When the neighbor call, I understand. Yes, they see something unusual, they will call the police. We appreciate that. But what I don't understand is when the officer come, and the officer found out that somebody is in the shed, the officer give her a verbal command, and there's no response. And she's cleaning her shed, believing that she's in her property, not knowing that anybody's outside. To the officer, maybe just sounds like raccoon, or sounds like a dog, make a whole bunch of noise. If there is a crime, when the officer gives a verbal command, this person will come out, will act differently. But you know what? I'm also shocked that when the dog get into the shed and attack the woman, the grandma, and she was howling and screaming and crying, the police officer already know there is a grandmother. There is a grandmother. It's an elderly grandmother. Right? And if the officer cares so much what he's doing, you know what? Remember, police officer is also known as a peace officer. Right?
Yeah.
And how come the officer released the second K9? Huh? The second K9. And try to rip her off the same thing in the shed until drag her out of the shed. And when they already discovered that she's an elderly woman, that's enough. Does she have a gun? Does she have a horn? Does she have a big T? That may be dangerous. But look, number one, she's an elderly person. Number two, she doesn't speak English. Number three, she has problem with hearing. You see, is that necessary for the police officer to twist her arm between her back? Is that very necessary that the police officer grab her arm and bend to the top of her head and drag her from her backyard and to the front yard and to the police squad car? What the hell is that? What kind of show is that? And her skirt is on the floor. What kind of pervert is that? Huh? You know what? Counsel Daital remind me one thing. The Hmong people come to this country for us, very special reason. Anybody know what Lima Site 85 is? Lima Site 85 is known as a pool party. United States radar that station in that Lima 85. Hmong people sacrifice thousands of lives to protect the radar in North Laos, so that radar can pinpoint target in North Vietnam for the U.S. Air Force to bomb. That's number one job. Number two job is when the United States pilot or Air Force got shot down, if they make a left turn, they go to the ocean. But if they make a right turn, the Hmong people are the one that Satan. That's the second job. Lima Site 28. Anybody know? No? That's Long Chain, CIA headquarters. That's where the Hmong people is stationed. Okay? So, besides that, the last one is Ho Chi Minh Trail. It's also known as the enemy supply line that coming from North Vietnam to South Vietnam through Laos. And our job is to cut off the enemy line. We sacrifice thousands of people to try to cut off the enemy line. That's what our job is. And you know what? We done a whole bunch of bullets. We've been chased like animals. We got shot at. We've been through so much traumatized. And we come to this country for peace, for a better life, for better living, better education. And that's why we are here. But you know what? You know what? Today, I found we are facing a different situation. How are we going to deal with that? You know what? These people live in this Coon Rapid. We have some more people live here. We are working class people. We pay our tax. Our tax is paying for this police department. Pay for the city employees. That's how they treat us. You know what? I'm shocked. 2004, I was the one that walked from the state capital of St. Paul, Minnesota to Washington, D.C. to raise awareness about the Hmong people in Laos, over 2,000 miles. So, you know what? I'm here. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity, the time. I wish I know everybody's name, but thank you very much being here to support the Hmong community. I thank you all. Thank you.
All right, we're open for some.
อันนี้เขาบอกตลาดเลยอยากเก่งหัวหูกับมั่วเก่งใจยังโดนชั่วช่วงเนี่ยตัวลูกอ้อลินตัวนุติเกาะช่วงอาจจะก่อชายเนี่ยตัวนุ่งคุณรัฐเพชรเอาเซมิเนโซตาที่เราใช้ตัวชั่วโมงสาวสื่ออุนตัวจุ่มระยะตอนเด้ยังไม่ได้จีชื่อสิ่งเนี่ยตัวกินเอาไปชาติตัวกันในเฉลี่ยตัวโป้จ้อกูอยากเรียกว่าเลยว่านะครับตรงนี้ส่วนสุดตัวเป็นมาชิ้นเดียว